Hello, everybody, and welcome to True North Audio. I'm your host, Kiko. Look, it's my face. I haven't shown this in probably over a year, and you probably won't be seeing it a whole lot more, but I'm kind of playing around with a little bit better camera situation. I hope this is going to work and look a little better than my crappy webcam has. Maybe it'll work too well. Maybe you'll see all the little flaky pits and features and sweat on my face, and you'll hate it. Wish it was more low definition. Anyway, I digress. What is the best software synth? There isn't one. It depends on what you're going to use. That's the answer to the question in the video. Really, what this video is about is how you choose what is actually best for you. And honestly, the best place to start with that is going to kind of just be to download some free stuff and play with it. Like, get yourself Vital, get yourself VCV Rack, get yourself maybe like Odin 2, or maybe something from like Full Bucket Music, or just go on like KVR or whatever and find some other synthesizers that maybe look cool and are free, and just download them and play with them. Also, get acquainted with the synthesizers in your DAW. Your DAW might kind of, it might be good, it might not be. You know, you're not gonna have great consistency from DAW to DAW when it comes to synths, but you're still gonna have something. You're gonna have the basics, and you can play around with that and get an idea of what you like and don't like. And that's gonna be pretty important, because the first real thing you want to be thinking about is going to be your workflow, how you actually like to do things. And the thing about synthesizers is we're gonna get into when we get to the video about signal flow, is that making sounds in a synthesizer is really dependent on signal flow. So your workflow is not really just going to be, oh, I like where the LFO is in the user interface or something like that. It's going to really depend a lot on how you understand signal flow and what your relationship is with signal flow. It's going to depend on if you have a really good understanding of it mathematically or logarithmically, or if you want something very visual that's going to give you lots of feedback. That's going to be very important, because every synth is going to kind of treat that a little differently. And the great thing is, these days, honestly, you can get free synthesizers that are better than half the stuff you were paying for back in the day. You know, I mean, Vital, honestly, would be the industry standard if it came out in 2008. Let's be real. It would probably put, I mean, I'm not saying put Native Instruments out of business or whatever. I mean, every time a new synth comes around, everyone's, oh, the Serum killer. And I mean, Serum's not going anywhere. The pros are going to use probably a good handful of different things and prefer a number of synths that work for their workflow. But the other reason I recommend that is that early on, you're going to kind of want to focus more on your relationship with synthesizers more than picking the perfect synth. There's kind of a mentality in old school guitar playing that the best tone you can get is just whatever you already have. A lot of the best players just got their little combo amp and whatever cheap guitar they got back in the day, and their tone is built around how they learned to use those amps and how they played on that guitar, and everything that they do is kind of informed by that fundamental kind of foundation of how they do things. It's not really about the gear as much as it's about how you use the gear. And downloading a bunch of free stuff and getting a feel for how you like to use the gear is going to matter a lot more than just going out, buying the nicest synth that somebody on YouTube told you is the end all, the Serum killer, whatever it is, or just Serum. You're going to want to just start by understanding it. You're just get a feel for how you use the synth before you start getting a feel of what the perfect synth will be. Because you might end up hating the perfect synth. Now, once you have been playing around with them, once you have an idea of what you like in a synthesizer and how your relationship with signal flow kind of works, then you're going to want to start thinking about your workflow. Your workflow is probably going to be more important, honestly, than the sound. Because whatever your workflow is, something out there is going to give you the tools you need, or some combination of things. But once you have an idea of your workflow, you have a much better idea of what you can buy. Don't go wasting money on whatever. I mean, if I'm going to answer the question for myself personally, I would say that Phase Plant is probably the end-all synthesizer. but some people might find Faceplant overwhelming, or maybe not quite visual enough. Or maybe they'll just find the features okay, but they want more out of it, or they like a different sound, or I mean, you might be playing around with Vital a bunch and decide you like more voices in your unison. I mean, Faceplant doesn't have a ton. You can still put more in by stacking, but maybe you want something a little simpler. Or, I mean, honestly, you might just find that Serum, 2 oscillators, 1 filter, that's all you need. All your sounds are in that. You're not going to be wasting a ton of time building these huge elaborate patches. You just want something really quick. I find generally, when I'm messing around with workflow, that the kind of line usually falls, and this is not a hard rule of any kind, don't quote me on this, but just kind of in my own personal experience, the line usually kind of falls between the very visual kind of modern synthesizers and the kind of old school like knob and dial and kind of mathematical setup that you get. So you might find if you're more of an old school guy, you're going to want to get VCV Rack and pair that with the Arturia V collection. Maybe you really like just working with knobs and dials, but maybe you want kind of more of a modern sound, but you want to keep that workflow. You might find that Massive is really going to be the synth for you, but maybe you're somebody who's a little bit more like me, more visual. You're going to find that something like Pigments, with its feedback on all of its modulators right there in the middle of the synth, just right across the center bar there, is going to be really pleasing and really easy to work with. Or like Vital, when you can drag and drop a parameter and you can just kind of see how much everything is being controlled right there on the knob. You might find that that's really important to your workflow. And like I said, simplicity versus complexity. If you're somebody who's looking to just drop it in and go really quick, Serum really is one of the best ones for that. Vital's going to be pretty quick too. Maybe again, Massive will be really straightforward, or the V collection, but maybe you're somebody like me who likes to get a little bit more detailed and a little bit more kind of into it. And you might find yourself liking VCV Rack, or you might want something more modern like Faceplant that has a lot of that kind of modular deep workflow and like super deep control of everything in it, but it's not super complicated like something like VCV Rack might be for you. Of course, I personally love VCV Rack, but VCV is not as quick and easy to patch as Faceplant when you're working on something on a deadline. VCV is kind of something to play with for yourself. But then again, maybe that's your thing. Maybe you are just an ambient kind of, you want to get into the world of modular. You want to just sit down and let a patch generate itself for 4 hours. VCV is probably going to do that better than anything else. And that's going to be your workflow. And it's not really going to matter, as you're not on a deadline. You're not trying to meet anything for a client. You're just trying to make something for yourself or for an audience that wants that specific type of music. That's going to be probably the best workflow for you. By the way, on that note, VCV Rack, if you get VCV Rack, grab Cardinal. Cardinal is going to be very important for actually using it in your DAW if you're using the free version. The next thing from there, once you've got an idea of your workflow and what synths are going to kind of work best for you, think about your style and see what the professionals doing what you want to do are using and how they use them. So again, look at your favorite producers and see what they prefer and see if their workflow is similar to yours or not. Because again, if you understand your workflow, you might be able to look at somebody and say, I like the music this guy produces, but I don't like the way he works, or I don't work the way he works, or I can't wrap my head around the way he works, or whatever. That might give you a good idea of kind of what you're doing. That might give you a good idea of kind of what might work more for you, or what might be a good kind of middle ground between what they like and what you like, or what your workflow would adapt to the best. For the most part, whatever style you're trying to do, you're going to get different things that are going to have vastly different workflows, but will still get you to more or less the same kind of end goal. Like, if you want to really dig into that, like, self-generating modular, but you want to get that kind of rich, like, dubstep wavetable kind of synthesis, VCV Rack has wavetable oscillators that you can plug in and kind of use like Serum. Or if you've decided that you really want VCV Rack, you can buy the host module The host module is like $30, and you can actually put other like synthesizers in and control them using the VCV workflow. It's really overpowered, but it allows you to use the like wavetable functions in Serum or something if you really wanted to. Or again, in Vital, Vital's free. You know, if you like the wavetables in Vital, but you like the workflow in VCV, and you've decided on that as a kind of direction you want to go, you can spend $30 on host and keep VCV and Vital for free, and then you can load Vital into VCV Rack as an oscillator and control that using your modules in VCV and treat it as if it's a module within VCV Rack. And understanding how to do stuff like that can really go a long way and can save you a ton of money, rather than just being the guy who goes and buys whatever YouTube tells you is the best synth for whatever your style is, or because whoever X producer you love uses it. I hope all that's been helpful for you. It's been a really quick video. Like I said, things have been a little bit busy. I do plan to have some more videos coming on the way. I'm hoping to put out a video soon on actual signal flow, on workflow within a synthesizer. Again, the relationship with that is going to be a huge determining factor in how you like to work in a synthesizer. Afterwards, I've got some videos on more specific types of synthesis and some kind of fun synth hacks that might be cool to play around with, so stick around for all that. Subscribe, ring the bell, leave a comment. If you have any questions, I'll try my best to answer them. I can't pretend that I have every answer in the world, but I mean, I've got some experience, so if you're still wondering about something, feel free to put it out there, and maybe if I can't, someone else will answer it. Other than that, have a wonderful day.